The average person loses 21.8 hours per week on low value activities that do nothing to help them get to their goals. But what if I told you a single 90-minute sprint could move your 90-day goals forward more than an entire unfocused week? In this video, I'm showing you my focus sprint method, the exact 90-minute framework that I have used to achieve more in a single session than most people do in an entire day. After coaching hundreds of people on their productivity challenges, I need you to know the one thing that is most overlooked. The science behind why this strategy works is because of something called the ultradian rhythm. The ultradian rhythm is a biological cycle that occurs multiple times within a 24-hour period. Our brains naturally cycle between high and low energy approximately every 90 minutes. There have been studies from Microsoft and other attention researchers that have shown our focus naturally wanes around the 90 to 120 minute mark. Shout out to those of you who get stuck in 90-minute meetings that go on way too long. Yikes. Even when you're working on something you're super passionate about, people who try to push through and go beyond where their energy level is really at its peak are going to end up with diminishing returns. But these natural cycles can align perfectly with strategic goal achievement, which is why you're here with me. There are 3 phases of optimal brain function during a 90-minute window. For the first 30 minutes, this is your ramp up phase. You're just getting going. But from the 30 to 75 minute mark, you're in that peak focus zone. You've got to keep going to get the most out of it. And from 75 to 90 minutes, you've got to be hitting that completion phase because you have to wind this thing down. I don't think you understand the importance of working with your brain's natural rhythms rather than against them. This is a simple way to get in alignment with how your brain actually works. So now you know why we're going to go on a 90-minute sprint, but we have to set up our environment for success. Here's a beginner-friendly way to set your environment up for success so that you can have maximum focus. First, we need pre-sprint preparation. You're probably gonna wanna do this the day before, if not earlier. First, you need one specific goal-aligned task. And that's because if you're going to go on a sprint for 90 minutes, you can't have a multitude of things you need to do. You've got to do one thing really well. So have it very clearly defined. So you're thinking about the fact that the time has been scheduled for you to go on that sprint, for you to do that one thing, and you're getting mentally prepped for it. In that mental preparation, you're also going to want to gather any materials or any resources that you're going to need to get the most out of that time block. Next, define clear metrics. What does success look like when that 90 minutes is up? What do you know for sure if it is done? And if it's not something that's done, then can you hit a milestone? If you were writing a book, for example, and you were going on a 90-minute sprint, how many words did you write in that time? And finally, get your index cards or your Notion page ready. You need to create something called a parking lot. A parking lot is where we're going to park ideas, park tasks, park distractions. Every time you are going to be in that 90-minute focus mode, you need to be able to take the things that come into play that do not apply and give them a place to go. The best thing you can do is write them in a note, and that is what your parking lot is going to be. Know what you're going to do, what you need to go into it, what success looks like, and how you're going to handle the distractions when they come in. Next, we've got to get the environment set up. This is something you could potentially do just before the sprint, depending on how well you prepped for it in general. So something that I do when I'm sprinting to get content filmed here is I make sure that my lights are on and my desk is clear. I can usually do that 15 minutes before. But if this set was not here, I would be setting it up far in advance of shooting as much as is possible in my space. So your environment setup is going to depend on what the task is. Again, writing a book, you just need to go to your writing desk. If that desk is always there, there's not going to be a ton of environment set up other than making sure it's clean, clear, and ready for some writing. One rule that I think everybody should have, period, end of story, is phone in the drawer or phone in another room, phone on an island unavailable to you, notifications turned off. It is very, very likely you're going to want to touch your phone. It is less likely you're going to need your phone for the sprint. And you are literally saying, I don't care if anything distracts me at any point in time during this focus period by keeping your phone around. You might argue you need to do some research. You might argue you need to look some things up. That's fine. But maybe there's an environmental thing you need to do on your laptop to make sure you stay focused on only those places. If it's an AI writing software or you're searching a database about certain types of information, then that's available to you. But don't just have arbitrary devices that do literally everything and allow anyone to get a hold of you when you are about to do a 90-minute sprint. Create that focused environment, clear the space, get whatever snacks you need, refresh the coffee, however you need to feel in the zone. My favorite thing to do at my writing desk is I always have my Bose headphones sitting there. They're big, they cover up my ears, and I put on some focused music and I vibe out no matter what's going on around me. I am only paying attention to my desk, what I'm writing, the notes I'm taking, the video I'm planning. The headphones just make it seem like I went into my own soundproof booth and no one is there with me. And now just make sure you have your sprint structure for the 90 minutes. In the first 5 minutes of your 90-minute sprint, you're going to focus on the goal. What is the outcome? What are the metrics for success? How do you get refocused on the fact that it's go time and here's what you need to do and it's time to get started, so get your head in the game. 5 minutes of that vision reflection is a great idea. But don't be afraid to set a timer for this because it can be very easy to stay in visionary land. So 5 minutes, that's it, because we have to dive in as soon as possible. You're in that critical ramp up phase for your brain. So we don't need to take the entire 30 minutes for that if we can get more juice out of this lemon that is the 90 minutes. Your next 80 minutes are deep work with no interruptions. If you decide to factor in some sort of Pomodoro timing, that's fine, but you also need to decide, I'm gonna take 25 minutes on and 5 minutes off. If that's necessary for you, make sure you know what you're doing for those 5 minutes. You're not getting up and walking away too far. Maybe a pee break, that's cool, but you should have at least 80 minutes of focused work. And even with a Pomodoro timer, that's possible as long as you don't veer too far away. The longer and further away your Pomodoro breaks are, the less likely that 80 minutes is really the best it could possibly be. If it's possible for you, from a focus standpoint, from the way your brain works, for you to sit in deep work for 80 minutes, I recommend it. Remember, you may not get this focus time back for a while. Weeks go by, the kids, other work, meetings, weekends, all the things. Make this time sacred. In the final 5 minutes, find a way to close this chapter. Document what you did. Mark down what your stopping point is. Get your head around what the next steps are. If that version of you were to walk out of this environment and completely forget what you just did because you were so in the zone, which is not a bad assumption, by the way, you should be able to go and look at your notes and say, oh, right, I did do that. I did write that. I did plan that. And here is what we do next. What's written is remembered. What's remembered is acted upon. So even if you don't need those notes, you're going to remember how to move on next. It keeps you in flow. So now I want to talk about sprint types for different kinds of goals. What you can use the 90-minute strategy for are different things like the creative sprint, strategic sprint, an implementation sprint, a learning sprint, or even a review sprint. A creative sprint for me would be something like writing something for content or making a new framework for you to download and be able to try a writing exercise of your own. I might write a newsletter for my email list or an article for a press website. In the creative zone, when you have to get ideas fleshed out and digestible and consumable for an audience, it's a great time to do a sprint. You do not want to be distracted when you're trying to figure out how to articulate what you want people to learn from you. A strategic sprint is that opportunity for planning, which is something we love around here, right? We love to plan. So give yourself a focused period of time to sprint toward what that plan looks like. Design the blueprint, make the map, know what the destination is, and reverse engineer it. The more focused you can be when you're coming up with stuff like that, the better. Because otherwise we just say, oh, we'll plan it, and it'll just take forever for you to plan something. So having the opportunity for a strategic sprint is a really important thing for you to do. But also, we can't plan all the time, so we have to do the other kinds of sprints so we can follow the plan. In following the plan, you might want to do an implementation sprint, which is where you're taking a plan you've already created and beginning to take the steps that are necessary for it. How can you hit the ground running? What have you decided would be a good idea for you to do? What are those initial steps that you decided would need to happen for this plan to fall into place for it to get started? Take that massive action now in your 90-minute focus period. Next is a learning sprint. This is an opportunity if there's a book, that solves a challenge for you, or a course that helps you learn how to do something. The learning of it, the absorbing of the information, the being focused on what it means to be successful and take the right steps. You might need this time to be able to do some of these other kinds of sprints, like your implementation sprint. Don't just buy a course and then never focus on the modules and learn the things and do the exercises. Use a 90-minute sprint to get as much out of it as you possibly can. And I love a review sprint. You know, I do a weekly review every single week. I have a whole video about it. It helps me with everything. Review all my notes, go back and look at meetings and things I need to do after I've met with people. I check my mail drawer, make sure all the bills are paid. My weekly review gives me the opportunity to say, we are caught up. We have all balls up in the air. We're good. And I can be more positive and excited about every other area of my life because I was focused. I know the boxes that I checked, and I am excited that I can move on because I gave it the focus it deserved. By the way, if you want this in a really simple writing exercise, I made a free download for you to check out. Come over to my Instagram, give me a follow, and DM me the word sprint, and I'll send it right over to you. You don't have to give me your email or anything. It's literally just a Google Doc. You can download it, start filling it out, even have maybe a sprint period where you try to figure some things out with it. Check that out over on my Instagram. All right, so this is the juicy part. Are you ready for a challenge? If you want to double your productivity on your biggest goals, this is how you do it. The compound effect of consistent sprints over 30 days is incredible. Imagine if you had multiple, not just one 90-minute sprint, but many. Imagine if that was your calendar blocking approach. Ooh, interesting. If you want to get more done in less time, I want you to try the 30-day sprint challenge. Here's how it works. It's 4 weeks and it's a slow ramp up so that you get better every single week. In the first week, schedule 3 sprints for yourself. Doesn't matter when, whenever works best for your schedule, but pick 3 different days for 90-minute sprints. Don't forget to add some buffer time before and after to make sure you are really ready for all that prep that we talked about earlier. In week 2, you're going to schedule 4 sprints. And in week 3, you're going to schedule 5 sprints. By this point, you will be making it the norm that you have 90 minutes of focused time every workday if you work 5 days a week, which is what my life is like. On work days, I have at minimum 1 hour to 90 minutes of focused time, no matter what, because I got some deep work I gotta do all the time, and I need a focused sprint to make it happen. Now, week 4, you might decide, hey, I don't need 5, but I also need more than 3. You need to just decide what your cadence of sprinting is going to be and follow that cadence for week 4. Once you've completed the 30 days, you're going to track your sprint score. And that's gonna be the task completion rate along with your rating of quality. Like, how good of a job did you do on the things you had to get done? Don't forget to include an accountability partner if you think that's appropriate for you. But if nothing else, use your planner and mark a big X on those days that you got your sprint in. Leave a comment down below and tell me if you're going to take the challenge. Let me know when you're starting. Tomorrow is a great day to start if it's not too late today. This is my focus sprint method helping you reach your goals in 90-minute sprints. If you want to learn more about how to master calendar blocking that really complements this training, click here and I'll see you there.